but I think I did initially approach music from the angle of wanting to play bass. I'd forgotten that till my parents reminded me when I bought the upright. I was out in, I'd been wanting one on and off for years. I'm like, pick them up and be like, oh yeah, I understand. I know where the notes are. This makes sense. I have a good ear, so that's a huge thing for upright.
Welcome to episode 108 of the Bass Shed podcast. My name is Ryan Roberts. What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 108 of the Bass Shed podcast. I took last week off from the podcast episode. It is actually this podcast episode that would have been released. The bassist is Eric Shed, and he plays with the group Birds of Play, and I will talk more about him, and obviously you will hear me talk with him in just a minute. But I took last week off because I was finishing the record. It's finally done. Hallelujah. It's finally done. I'm so happy that it's finally done. And that will be up at on Bandcamp, Ryan Roberts. And you can get there by links on thebassshed.com. Click on the tab that says album, and I will have a link to the Bandcamp there. You can check it out. If you've been listening to the podcast, you've been hearing me talk about this thing for way too damn long. And it's finally done. And man, did I learn a ton about making a jazz record in the process. Yeah, like when number 2 happens, there's going to be quite a few things that are different. But it was cool. Not only did I learn things that I'll, do differently and how I'll approach the next one differently, but I learned things I would have probably not otherwise learned. I learned a lot about the mix process, which was really cool. I like learning new things, and that was one of them. But the record, Smile, is finally done, and it's out. It's out into the world. And I'm excited about that. And you can check it out again at thebassshed.com/album, right? Or you can go to my personal website, which is just Ryan Roberts Bass. It'll be up there as well. What else is happening? The Bass Shed Academy is doing spring bass workshops on Saturday, April 1st, and that's, I feel like 2023 is implied, but, it's this year, so, there's that next month, a couple weeks away. Spring bass workshops, that's going to be myself teaching the jazz workshop and the electric bass workshop, and a wonderful bass player named Chris Hornung teaching the classical workshop. The classical workshop will be from 10 a.m. to noon. The jazz workshop will be from 1 in the afternoon till 3 in the afternoon, and then the electric bass workshop will be starting at 3:30 in the afternoon till 5:30. So each are 2 hours, and they are limited seating each one because the idea is to hear everybody play, right? It's not kind of a lecture masterclass style where it's just the instructor talking. It's a workshop, so everybody and all the attendees will also be playing. Yeah, and we'll be talking about all that. You can check out more information about the spring bass workshops at thebassshed.academy.org. There's information all over the place on that website, so stop by thebassshed.academy.org to check that out. While you're there, we're also doing a group class. The Bass Shed Academy is also doing a group class, and that is going to be taught by Mike Viseglia. You might remember Mike Viseglia from episode 98 of the Bass Shed podcast. And Mike and I have been kind of since that podcast in touch, and I threw him this idea. I'm like, yo man, I really like you to be involved, and he came up with it actually. I'm not gonna take any credit for something I didn't do. This is something that Mike is passionate about, is conducting yourself as a professional, as a sideman within the music business. Yeah, and doing that. He's written a book about it. I know I did talk about it on the podcast. The book is called A View from the Side by Mike Viseglia, and it's interviews with all these bass players: Will Lee, Marcus Miller, Lee Sklar, Tony Levin. Forward by Sting on the book, so you can check that out. Definitely check that out. You can go to Amazon, check it out. I also have a link up at thebassshed.academy.org. click on the little programs thing, go down to group classes. There will be links to the Working Pro class by Mike Viseglia. And we put together the course, and it's all stuff you won't normally learn. I don't even want to say normally learn in school. I can't imagine any school program teaching the real world aspects of musicianship, or being a musician, I guess is a better way of saying it. There are things about musicianship and playing and style and sound and gear, but it's also very much things that you kind of just pick up from doing the job over years and years. And the class is presented to, I don't want to say just younger students. The class is for everybody, first and foremost. And second of all, if someone's already a working pro and just wants to check in a little bit, cool, you can do that. If there are younger players out there who are really interested in pursuing this as a career and want to get into being a working professional bassist, the course that Mike will be teaching is everything that's you need to know. How to deal with finances, how to deal with mental health, how to deal with your personal life, the kind of the work-life balance. Again, how to audition, how to write charts. So there's some tangible, functional things. There's some more, I don't want to say esoteric, but maybe, life lesson-y things along the way. It's a wonderful class. I'm very proud to have put this together with Mike, and I'm honored that he brought this to the table, and he's so passionate about it. And Mike is just that. He is a working pro. Like Mike has played a ton of people: Bruce Springsteen, Suzanne Vega, Jackson Brown, Bette Midler, Phoebe Snow. Mike is, he's been working on Broadway a bit. So he is that. He's a very, very versatile bass player, and he is definitely a working pro. So there's a group class. There's a group class titled Working Pro through the Bass Shed Academy. If you're interested, again, go to thebassshedacademy.org and check out Working Pro with Mike Viseglia. All right, as I mentioned, bassist Eric Shed, right? Obviously, the last name is intriguing to me. Eric Shed. What a killing name. Eric Shed is on the episode. And Eric plays bass with the group Birds of Play. Now, I wasn't hip to this group until this podcast. And there's one of the things I absolutely love about doing the podcast is I get to meet people that I would have not normally have met. 1. 2, I get to listen to them play, and I get exposed to these new bands, and get to check out some new music, which is always of interest to me. And speaking with Eric was just that. It was all of those things. I met him for the first time here and got to check out his band for the first time. Their management company hit me up and sent me a copy of their record, Murmurations Volume 2. I checked out the record. I really liked the record. Like, listening through the first half of it, I'm like, shame on me for this. When I was listening to the record, I was just like, okay, I see where they're going. I kind of have an idea where this is. Okay, I get it. I'm into it. I'm totally into it. This kind of mountain group, bluegrass influenced Americana country thing. I'm totally into it. But I'm like, okay, I see it. I get it. Right? I got it. No, Ryan, you're wrong, and shame on you. Then there hits a track that gets into like this musical theater kind of vibe, and then from that point on in the record, it just takes a turn, and each track was a very distinctly different feel. Wonderful record. I did not see that coming when I was listening to the first couple tracks, and the back half of that album really took me for a surprise, and it was a wonderful, pleasant surprise. And so I highly recommend checking out the group Birds of Play. Eric and I will talk about that record. Eric and I talk about those surprise elements that are on the record. We talk about the DIY nature of things. Their management company hit me up, and so then, which is a new thing. You'll hear them talk about it, like having a management company. That's a new deal to them, but they've been slugging it out and just grinding it out on the DIY tip. And man, it's always, every time I hear guests, and I hope this is the same for listeners of the podcast, every time I hear guests talk about the DIY approach, I'm always kind of, mentally taking notes. Like that's I think so much of the nature of where we're at with all of it. And so I love hearing about the DIY stories because it informs me about how to tackle things myself. So, yeah, Eric will definitely speak to that. He will talk about how the band was formed. He will talk about how he got introduced to playing the bass. The conversation definitely takes a kind of a left turn where I think towards the end of the episode he becomes my therapist. That's that's what happened. So, thank you, Eric. Checks in the mail, buddy. Yeah, wonderful time talking with it. And here it is. Here's bassist Eric Shed, and his band is Birds of Play.
Oh, just the main thing. Like we take off on tour tomorrow, and
yeah, I was checking that out. I was checking. You guys are pulling some dates. You're staying pretty busy for the next few weeks, and then the back half of March.
Yep. Yeah, we're running in circles. I feel
That's
like
great.
I was in transition.
That's good. So where are you at right now? Are you in Utah right now?
No, I'm in Ophir, Colorado, which is a little town outside of Telluride.
How do you spell that? I'm going to look it up. I was just doing another podcast with someone from Colorado, a small little mountain town, and I'm fascinated
Ophir
by
is spelled Ophir.
Ophir.
Yeah.
Oh man, that looks like a super small town.
Oh, it's very small. There's no businesses. There's nothing.
What is
here.
there? What makes it a town then?
I mean, there's a city hall and a post office.
Okay.
So.
You can
I mean,
mail
it
to
used
City
to
Hall.
be like a little mining town, and it's essentially a bedroom community for Telluride.
Okay. And how far is Telluride from there?
About 20 minutes.
That's not too bad.
No, but it's just funny because this happened the last time when we were leaving for tour. It's just nuking snow.
Really?
Which is great. I went skiing this morning. Went back to
nice.
skiing this morning, and I'm gonna get to go tomorrow before, and hopefully my bandmate will get here to be able to leave from here. It's just what we do. But yeah, the other thing that happened is I was like, oh sweet, I have to load the van in the like blowing snowstorm. But all right, whatever.
Oof.
And then I somehow locked my keys in the van, and so I spent the last like 25 minutes trying to break into my van,
man.
and I wasn't quite successful. I'm close. I just need the right poking device.
Oh man! Hopefully all this bad juju gets out of the way before the tour starts.
It's just part of it.
Yeah.
It's just you gotta take good with the bad. It's like I had such a great time skiing. It's like I can't. It's like the yin and the yang of like.
Yeah, right.
I got to go backcountry skiing out of my door this morning.
Amazing.
And it was awesome. And I skied fresh snow, and I'm gonna do it again tomorrow morning. But then I have to load the van in the snow. So it's like.
Right. Bittersweet.
You don't get one without the other.
Yeah, double-edged sword for sure. Cool. So you guys are touring. Are you guys specifically touring the record Murmurs Volume 2?
No, not
Murmurations. Excuse me, Murmurations.
Yeah, Murmurations. Not specifically. That has been out since last summer. So we're just touring to.
Just touring. Yeah.
Because that's how musicians make money these days.
That's it. One of the few ways, right?
Yeah.
That's a dark conversation. We can go there though.
I mean, yeah, we're kind of in a conversation, growth, but so it feels all right. But yeah, it's a weird world.
Actually, let's talk about aspects of that, which is now you guys aren't totally DIY because your management hit me up.
But that's also the first person that's like we just brought her on.
Okay.
It's
pretty
nice.
DIY.
Pretty DIY at this point. I mean, I got the pile of the PAs right here next to me, and it's my van.
Right.
And Alex, the one of the other band members, he does all our booking right now.
That's kind of the vibe. Like everybody in the group has like specific responsibilities. Yours is going to be kind of handling logistics for touring. His is going to be more an administrative thing.
We should probably define more roles more.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, now like there's certain roles, like certain things, like the booking. Alex needs to you need to have one person doing that, unless he's like, hey, can you check it? can you call a couple friends in this spot if I'm having trouble finding something here?
Right.
But uh, other than that, it's pretty shared. We all are avoidant of social media and should do it more. But
Man, right? Isn't that's talk about a double-edged sword. That's a major one with everything these days is the social media component because you kind of don't none of it exists unless it lives there, but doing it is the worst part of all of it.
dude, it's such a pain in the butt, and like I'll
Yeah.
just like try to like, and it's also there's little things like everything needs to be posted on Facebook and Instagram. I'm like, come on, you're owned by the same company. Why is it when I
Yeah.
tag everyone in one and
Right.
cross post it? Why can't you guys figure that out?
Right.
Why can't you figure
Well,
out that?
if you pay them, they will.
Maybe,
You know,
yeah, maybe on ads they will. I
exactly.
don't know. It is, yeah, and I do some of our tour poster design, and
Okay.
it's just it's a wild thing to think about, like realizing that it was interesting for me to look at who you've interviewed, and
Hmm.
I was like, a lot of people who are like pretty heavy hitters, like really name recognition, which is very cool. And I'm like, feel like I'm much more in the like happy upstart part of that. And it's just, but realizing, thinking about this as we're, as we're trying to grow, we've been a band for about 4 years now.
Yeah.
And that how much of an aspect marketing is to it. That it doesn't
Yeah.
matter how good of a product you have if no one knows about it.
I completely agree with that. And I think almost, and I would kind of like to hear your thoughts on this from being in a band with other guys that do it. Like I have a record coming out, but that's just me pushing my own thing. But having a group as a band where the music is created, among the four of you and you guys are all shared responsibilities, how much does, I don't want to say the product doesn't matter, but it seems to me that the product is almost secondary to just this online presence idea. That like the product, I'm not saying your product isn't great. Like I was checking out your record. I think the record's great, and I really want to dig into talking about that.
Yeah.
But just talking about social media and having something that you're offering, you're trying to sell tickets to your gigs and you move some records. It's like the product doesn't even matter sometimes. Like the amount of people I think that will convert to go listen to a record versus just give you some internet attention with a thumbs up or a heart, it's drastically different.
It is wild. I remember I read an interesting article, or skimmed, I would say, probably more accurately, an interesting article in I think it was either New Yorker or New York Times, but about like TikTok and these people, and that there were some people who were doing booking that were like, we have to book on followers. We can't book just on talent as much. Like if I'd rather have somebody who has 1 million followers than someone who has 5,000 that's way better.
Right.
Because we're in the business of filling seats.
Yeah, I know. It's so bizarre. A friend of mine is a jazz piano player, and he was taking his trio up the coast, and then one of the clubs kind of vibed him out. Like, you don't have enough followers. Like, it has nothing to do with what you're doing musically or like what number album you have out or anything. It's just strictly based on the follower thing.
Yeah, I mean, maybe not. I hope it's not just followers, because hopefully it's based on like, is he getting people in the door? Like that's really
all that matters.
That's really what matters. But I think as a promoter, you're going to be like, I know if someone has X number of followers.
Yeah, you're looking at that, right?
I can. Yeah.
And more importantly, are the people that are coming through the door? Are they buying? Are they buying a dinner? Are they buying drinks? Are they spending money? Like, what's the average ticket price? I think those are questions that are more interesting to a venue than just followers. Like, are your people showing up and engaging not only with the music but with the restaurant? Because that's how they make money.
Oh yeah, like
they can have anybody play there. If people are showing up and buying drinks and food, then cool. Yeah. They don't care.
They don't care at all. Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially.
I would hope that they care. I would hope that somewhere within their thing, someone loves a specific genre of music enough to really dedicate a club to that kind of sound and that community, and that they would have a heart for that somewhere. But I don't really know. When it comes to just business, it really doesn't matter. If they're going to be like a hard ass business guy.
Yeah, which, good for them, I guess. I don't
That's how
wanna...
trivia nights happen.
Yeah, you'll get people in the door. You'll sell drinks.
Exactly,
Great.
exactly. And you don't
I
have
like
to
a
pay.
trivia night. I'm
You don't
okay
have
with
to.
it.
You know, a friend of mine goes regularly, and so I've gone to him. I've gone to the trivia nights with him a couple times after the session. They're kind of fun, but some people get deep with the
They
trivia.
get really into it.
Like there's this one he goes to is actually on Tuesday nights. There's this like resident squad there that all has matching like sweatshirts and like merchandise with their trivia team name on it. Like it's deep. Like there's a deep trivia hang.
People want to belong to something.
That's true. That's true.
That's
That never fails, whether it's trivia or
whatever it
music.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking about this. Like the flip side of that is there's like a venue that in the town that I went to college to that we played once, and our other band member, he's played there with his funk band, and it was just like we're like kind of done with it because they used to get great music. When I was in college, I saw Derek Truck's band there.
Oh, dope!
Really great shows. Really
Yeah.
small room. Really cool to see. Probably like lucky one of the last few shows to see him before it was a huge. But now they don't like. It's real easy to book because you send the guy an email and he's like, "Oh, yep, sure, no problem.
Yeah, right.
Hey, be there this time.
You'll bring me people who will spend money. Fantastic.
Yeah, or just, but they just don't. It's like a door split. It's just like or a ticket, or I can't remember what they did, but it was. But they just because they'll book anybody, there's not a reputation of like, oh, I'm gonna go see a show at the Alley because it's
Right.
It's just like you've like cheapened, you've lowered the bar. That's like the other side of just the business of like whatever, people are gonna come or they don't, and I don't care.
Right. Having any kind of event space that I can't think of the word, but has a notoriety to it, or it's a brand where you know you're gonna get excellence. You know, like,
just the reputation.
Reputation, that's the word. That's I've seen that diminish drastically in Los Angeles for the clubs that stick around. I mean, most of them don't last too long. But then even the where they would set the bar has dropped. You're like looking at the thing like, really? They're playing there? All right. Whatever. That's another side of the music business that's not like it's really dark. How's it been doing the DIY thing? With the band's been together 4 years or 5 years?
4, I think. Yeah, I think 4.
Because the first record was 2019, right?
2019. We recorded that before we'd ever even played a show. That was
wow.
Yeah,
kind of a smart move, actually.
It was funny. I mean, that was the who was sort of the band. I don't know. We're all members, but like Alex, he had won a grant to record a solo album.
Sure.
And so he called me and Jack to be like, hey, you guys are like my buds and my music buds, and I want you to guys play on this. And as we were rehearsing for it, and just to go record it, it was like, hey, what if we just make this a thing?
Yeah.
And then recorded an album. Like we showed up at our first show ever, and we had T-shirts and and an album.
Yeah. That's why I think it's great. It's like you guys then on your first show are already presenting yourself like, yeah, this is a legit. We're doing it. Like this is a thing. This isn't just like, hey, what are you doing on Wednesday? Come on out.
Yeah.
It's like there's a lot of dedication to it. I like it.
Yeah.
But how's it been managing the DIY thing where the pandemic falls right in the middle of the whole life of the band?
We were, I think, the perfect size for the pandemic. Okay. And we're in Colorado, which is helpful because we existed. Yeah. Like we weren't starting from scratch. We had enough of people sort of knew who we were just a little bit.
Okay.
We just there and we worked a lot that summer 2020. Really? Yeah. I'd be interested to look back. I think we did probably 40 shows
in the summer.
Yeah.
Damn.
Outdoor. There was a lot of outdoor seating things. Colorado just has an appetite for it and space. We did a lot of outdoor seating things. Like there was this little courtyard to be like, cool, we can seat 20 people, do 2 seatings, charge $30 a ticket. And people were hungry for live music.
Yeah, that's definitely true.
We did some pirate stuff out in the woods. Like, hey, we're gonna be at this campsite with a generator. There's plenty of space to spread out.
Oh, sweet.
Come on out, hang out. Venmo us something.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like Colorado, I never thought about it, it seems like Colorado would be one of the best places, probably in the country, to have done that whole quarantine thing because it's so outdoors based.
Yeah, a lot of it. Like, yeah, the part that has the reputation anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, living in the city, like it just sucked. Like thankfully I'm up close to the ocean and I could do that. But other than that, like if you're further in, like more in the city, like terrible.
Dude.
Yeah, but being in Colorado, that's just kind of a win in general to get out, go hiking, just be outdoors because it seems like that's a part of the culture there in general. No pandemic, like everybody's kind of an outdoorsy.
Yeah. I mean, it was weird for a bit. They were like ticketing cars that weren't like if you yes, recreate, but recreate in your own county. I don't know.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was like don't like. As a whole, yeah.
Oh wow. Okay.
It was
So
good.
but the pandemic didn't.
No, I
the
think
band didn't take a huge knock because of the pandemic.
No, we kind of held steady. We had to
That's
postpone
amazing.
some recording and stuff, but yeah, it felt like we were just holding steady. We did a live stream thing a little bit, which sucks.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that thing's always. I think I played the first gig I played like September 2020 when things started opening back up was like some big concert, but like a parking lot concert. And it
Yeah.
was so awkward. Like everybody's in their cars and like flashing their lights to cheer or like doing the horn, which was kind of annoying. But yeah, it was just it was terrible. It felt good to play and kind of be back into it in some sense, but not having that like removal from the crowd was terrible.
Yeah, it's different. It was like nice to see the familiar faces. We do a live stream and 25 people tune in, and I was a roommate with my bandmate Alex at the time too. So
Okay.
So that was easy in terms of just the two of us would do these live streams.
Yeah. So you're originally from Idaho, is that correct?
Yeah.
Cool. What city in Idaho?
Lewiston?
Where is it?
Lewiston, South
Lewiston.
Idaho.
Okay.
Picture
Yeah.
Idaho here. It's like right where it goes from being squiggly to being straight.
Okay.
On the western, I even got an Idaho sticker right here. It's right there.
Okay.
So it's right where the Snake River is the border right here, and it flows. The Snake River flows in. No, I guess it's right there. The Snake River flows into Washington.
Okay.
Right there. And
So for the audio listeners, you're about halfway up on the western border.
It's true.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. It's the Idaho.
And then was Colorado the next move right from Idaho?
No, I've lived a bunch of different places. I moved from Idaho, and then I went to college there. And then I moved from there. I moved to Salt Lake City, lived there for a couple of years. Then I was like back in Idaho, and then ski patrolling in Washington. And then I lived in Bend, Oregon. Then I lived in Durango, and then I lived in Missoula, and then I lived in Idaho.
Okay, but you've been kind of hovering around the Northwest.
The Northwest, like cool little.
What's that called? Like I'm from Phoenix, and so the Southwest obviously is Phoenix, New Mexico. I don't really think of Colorado as the Southwest, but it's right there, just north of Arizona.
There, yeah, Durango is kind of like Southwest.
Yeah. So I don't really know, like, how to refer to Utah and Colorado.
West?
It's kind of just mountains.
I think it's called the Intermountain West.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, Intermountain.
Like Idaho, Montana, because I'm like Idaho's not quite the Northwest. Like really, the Northwest would be like Washington, Oregon.
Right.
Idaho, Montana, you're starting to, and Idaho and Oregon, Wyoming, you're in the Intermountain West. You're like in that Rocky Mountain belt.
Okay, but you've been hovering around there. You've been hovering around the mountains.
Yeah.
For quite a while.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, I was music as a career. Like even though I studied in school, music as a career didn't come till recently. Like this past 5 years.
When you were going to school for it, what was the end game? Like, what you're going to school for music? Track. You wanted to teach. Yeah,
and then there was specifically one day in Education 301 class that I was like, I don't think I actually want to do that.
When you had to do like bassoon methods? Was it
No,
one of those?
yeah. That is also was really hard, but that was just comically hard. It's like squishes your brain. There's so much back pressure in that instrument.
Oh man,
Squishes your brain.
I hated when kids got to bassoon in the methods class and they were all in the practice rooms. Like that was the worst. It just sounded like people were hitting ducks with a rubber hose.
Yeah, and I think I tried to cram because that's how I do. I
Yeah.
the final one like showed up the next morning. I was like, all right, I got these things. And played it, like figured out all my little whatever. And
Yeah.
I showed up the next morning. My embouchure, like I couldn't
Right. You blew out your chops.
blew out my chops completely. It was like,
Yeah.
That's like yesterday.
What was it that happened in 301? That was just like
that wasn't even
no.
a music ed class. That was just like a general ed class, and it was him talking about dealing with unsupportive administrators and parents.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, oh, and I was already also kind of like, yeah, I love teaching, I love music. I don't know if I want to be like an elementary school music teacher. That is a labor of love.
Yeah. You have to like love kids because I have some friends that have done it. The feedback I've heard is it's like 90% babysitting and 10% paperwork. Like, it's not even really music. It could be anything.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
So I feel like you would have to love engaging with children that way. I don't have that thing. God bless the folks that do.
I do like on a like one-on-one basis. I think I enjoy kids in like individual basis. I think they're really cool little humans.
They are.
Trying to run a classroom of them sounds.
No, and then I like every hour I don't want a new batch of them that I have to try to wrangle, for 5 days a week. Yeah, so that makes sense that you kind of dipped out. But then you got to bass relatively late, right? You got to bass around the time that you started playing with Birds of Play.
Not sort of. I like actually when I first picked up guitar when I was like 15.
Mm-hmm.
My parents reminded me of this when I bought the upright bass. They were like, "Oh yeah, you always wanted to be a bass player."
Oh really?
It's like, "Oh yeah." So I did. I bought like a classical guitar, and then I had a bass. I had an electric bass for a while, and played bass through college sometimes, even though I wasn't studying it. I played it in like the basketball band and played.
Through the college.
Well, yeah, the basketball band through the college,
Yeah.
and then I played in. So I didn't have a bass for that. I was borrowing one a lot. I hadn't had a bass for years, but I think I did initially approach music from the angle of wanting to play bass.
Okay.
I'd forgotten that till my parents reminded me when I bought the upright. I was out in, I'd been wanting one on and off for years. And like pick them up and be like, oh yeah, I understand. I know where the notes are. This makes sense. I have a good ear, so that's a huge thing for upright.
Yeah, that's great.
And I think I actually had a gig with this woman I was seeing that she played bass too, but she also played banjo, and she's like, no, you should play bass on this. And I was like, all right. And we played in like this little bar in Crested Butte, and I just like playing bluegrass bass on tunes. I was like, oh, I should buy one of these. I can. And when I bought my bass, I was living in a sliding camper in my truck. I was like doing wilderness therapy guiding, so there was room on my bed for my bass and me.
And then did you get into formal instruction, or were you just learning from records and kind of figuring it out?
I had 2 lessons.
Okay.
Maybe like a couple other like little hangs with some people that have shown me some tips there.
Sure.
Yeah, with this guy. Oh no, I can't remember his name. Anyway, my buddy calls him Bass Yoda. He was living up in Wyoming, but he's like really, really, really solid.
Okay.
Like, God, I wish I knew.
Was he coming from like a classical background?
He's coming from like a classical and jazz background.
Okay.
And like, yeah, very, very highly trained, and just like gave me some really solid foundations. And then I just watched a lot of videos and like played along with a lot of Wood Brothers. I was like, this is okay.
What I love about I don't want to misrepresent your music. How would let's hit pause about what I love about this. How would you qualify your music? Because there's like a couple terms.
I would love to.
Okay, you want to
looking.
shoot from the hip?
We call it like, yeah, it's like Americana bluesgrass is what we call it sometimes, just to kind of like give people something to like, okay, like it's acoustic.
That's the thing for genres, right? You need something. It is. There's definitely a strong. It's informed heavily. I feel like by bluegrass. There's tunes on the record. What tune was it? Track 3. I'll Be Good. That's just old country to me. It's not even bluegrass. That's just old country.
Yeah, I wrote that tune a long time ago, and I think I was listening to a bunch of Dwight Yoakam. And I was like, oh,
okay,
a Yoakam song.
Yeah, no, I love old country. But then there's, at least on the record, Murmurations, it goes a bunch of different places. So you can't say it's just a bluegrass record or necessarily just an Americana record. There's a track where you're playing with the bow. A little later on the album, it's kind of like a pop rock feel to it. So it goes a lot of places that's not just married to a bluegrass tradition, I think it's very much representative of people that live in mountains.
Yeah, somebody called us the quintessential Colorado band, and so
okay.
I was like, all right, sure, I'll take it.
Yeah,
but yeah, man, it's just, I think we just try to write songs, play songs we like. It's trying to avoid putting ourselves in any sort of genre pigeonhole.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then like this next album, Anneke, who's our violin player, we got a song on there that's kind of more, she's like really into like Phoebe Bridgers and stuff. So we're still using all the same instrumentation. Yeah. But it's kind of got that sort of indie pop vibe to it.
Sick. What I was going to say is the music that is within those genres, right? Within bluegrass, within country. What I love about those is they're not so academic, and I love that they're not academic. That it's really you can learn it. By the way, I think that's so important to learn is by listening.
Mm-hmm.
Like you get it. You listen to enough of it, you're like, okay, here's everybody's working together to kind of create this one rhythm section among 4 different people. Yeah. And like, great, here's my role within that. And it's almost folkloric. I mean, it is always considered folk music, but it's folkloric in the sense that it's passed down through just this kind of oral communication of it instead of any kind of manuscripts or repertoire. There's repertoire to it.
There's definitely repertoire as far as bluegrass. And I like people who are like really into bluegrass probably don't, I don't know, they might like us all right, but like we're not a bluegrass band. And people who are like really grass heads would be like, oh, they're not a bluegrass band. Like,
right.
I'm not trying to be a bluegrass band.
What is that because you don't mess with some of those up tempos?
Or just not,
because some of the bluegrass stuff, they get into some tempos that's like, yeah, that's bluegrass.
Yeah, and I think we don't have a banjo, which can definitely color the bluegrass. Like,
that's true, yeah.
And I think none of us have really actually, like, we're all casual bluegrass musicians. As far as like you think about it's not academic, but at the same time, like people that are really into it are like, this is bluegrass and this is how it goes, and it can't have this and it has to have this, and this is what it is.
There's always the snobs.
There's always the snobs.
Yeah.
And we're not those. We're not those things. And if you go listen to like we snuck our way, we wrote some bluegrassy-ish songs. And we had a bluegrass band competition last year, and got second, and that was fun.
Nice. Where are those competitions held there in Colorado?
The Telluride one is in Telluride, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Those are things that don't exist in Los Angeles. It's a bluegrass competition.
No. Yeah, I mean it's a fairly prestigious. It can be a real big career bump for people if you win. It's like the winning is significantly more than second, but it was really cool.
Sure,
fun thing to do.
I'm fascinated by it because that whole kind of bluegrass, folk, Americana, mountain music world doesn't live in Los Angeles because of obviously geography. Like that music doesn't come here because those influences aren't here.
Which is funny because like there's like New York has a solid bluegrass scene. Like
I've heard that from a guy that was just on the podcast. Yeah.
I was listening to that one, Nate Sabat.
Oh, okay.
He's great. And like, I know that there's some bigger cities that definitely have bluegrass scenes. I know that San Francisco has a bluegrass scene. So it's
that kind of makes sense to me though, with their whole jam band culture.
Yeah, and so it's interesting that LA doesn't that. There's not even like a little there's probably a pocket, and it might not just.
There's probably a pocket, and I just don't know about it. Let's definitely, introduce my lack of knowledge into this whole equation.
But I also think there might be something about LA that's just different than in that sense than.
Yeah, I mean it's a feel good town. That's all it is. It's you got the sun. It's 74 degrees all year round. There's the ocean 20 minutes away. There's the mountains. Then you can get into everything within a half hour, and it's a luxury city, and it's indulgent and feel good. So it's all. Nice. All the R&B and the high production, all that stuff comes here. Also, because
you don't have to load up for tour in
not in the snow. You have to load up for any gig, which in normal, very pleasant weather, but then sit on a freeway for hours in traffic. That's the downside here.
We'll be back right after this.
All right, what's up, folks? A new thing I'm doing is offering up the middle of the show to you. I want this to be a podcast that builds a community, and I want it to be a podcast where you can not only hear, but be heard. So, how this works, go to thebasshed.com/podcast, click on the button that says give me a shout out, have all the information there, email me with whatever you want me to talk about. I'll run an ad for you. Whatever it is. You got a new record coming out? Let me know about it. You got some dates you want to plug? Cool. Let me know about it. Instagram handles, YouTube handles, Spotify, whatever it is, whatever you got going on. You want me to give you a shout out? Absolutely. I'd love to. I not only want to give you a shout out, but I want to go check it out myself. I want to know what you guys are up to. And I want the community to know what you're up to. So go to thebasshed.com/podcast, get a shout out. All information will also be included in the monthly newsletter that goes out. And I'm honored that the first supporter of this is my dear friend Steve Millhouse. Steve Millhouse has a new record out called The Unwinding. He was recently on the podcast on episode 104. I've known Steve for years. He's meant a lot to me as a bass player and as a friend. He's got a new record out that is on Spotify called The Unwinding, as I mentioned. He has another record that is coming out very soon. He recorded it not that long ago. That is another trio project he has titled The Cinema Trio, which I think is very, very cool. Steve also recently talked to the folks over at For Bass Players Only. Stop by For Bass Players Only. You can stop by stevemillhouse.com. That's where you'll find information about both of his trios. Steve has a really cool concept going on with this 6-string bass. And if you've listened to episode 104, you know a little bit about that. If you have not checked out episode 104, check out episode 104 of the Bass Shed podcast and hear from Steve Millhouse. And definitely stop by stevemillhouse.com. Another wonderful bass player y'all should check out is Mr. Christopher Damman. Damman. That is spelled Dammann. Christopher has a couple records out. You can go to ChristopherDamman.com. You can also check him out on Bandcamp. His last record was titled Restroy. And he also has some dates coming up. May 22nd, he's playing at Elastic Arts with his trio. I don't think actually that's his trio. That's just a trio. June 28th is his quintet. This one's his quintet. This is kind of the big one. This is the important one. If you're in the Chicago area, stop by Constellation on June 28th. That is the Christopher Damman Quintet. July 26th, he'll be at the California Clipper, and August 6th, he will be at the Hungry Brain. For all details, stop by Christopher, DAMMANN.com to check out more. All right, folks, if you want a shout out, hit me up. Go to thebasshed.com/podcast. Click on Give Me a Shout Out, and I would love to hear what you're up to and check out the links.
Excellent, sir.
So getting back to this record, Murmurations Volume 2, it is 8 tunes. How would you describe this as a difference from Murmurations Volume 1, which is the album that preceded this?
I have to actually, honestly, to be
Yeah.
honest, I need to like look and remember which songs are on that, because part of why we split it up is that
Were they all recorded in one session?
they were all recorded in one session, and it was,
got
it was
you.
also to be a double vinyl.
Mm.
So that is so funny that I'm like looking up my own album on Spotify.
No, I think it's
what
hilarious.
songs are on that one?
I think
And it was also, so part of the splitting up of tunes was fitting things on sides of a vinyl.
right.
So to think about that, and so Murmurations Volume 1 has that like 3-song suite of the Fate of Saints, that those wanted to be together on one side. And so like, once you had that chunk that needed to be together, that
It
kind
dictated
of
some other.
because
things,
we went and recorded these, and like we had, like I said, we had to postpone recording from. We already were ready to record a lot of this stuff like a year prior
Oh,
before
wow.
the pandemic, and then it just like had to put it off and put it off and put it off. So by the time we were in the studio, we're like, let's get as many things recorded as we can, and and release it as like 2 things and keep the pipeline moving.
Did you record anything else that's yet to be released?
We just got out of the studio actually.
Okay.
A couple weeks ago. And yeah.
Is this Volume 3 or is this another kind of
We don't
concept?
have a title for this one. No, I don't think it's going to be Murmurations Volume 3. We don't have a title for this one yet.
Okay.
It was just getting. We should come up with that. We'll talk about it in time in the next couple weeks. We should come up with a title. I'm sure.
Yeah.
The manager would like to have that.
Sure. Yeah, that would help things.
Yeah. But I mean, we're not even like, I just finished overdubs for that, and so it's like still needs to get mixed and mastered.
Yeah, man, that's such a process. Is there any kind of sonically or mood shifts in this upcoming record?
What we went for this one, so the other ones were, I think they sound really good, and
Yeah.
I think that they're all click track, and they were like recorded with a scratch vocal, and then the vocals recorded separately, and just kind of that
Sure.
standard like building it thing.
Yeah, multi-track
And
kind of contemporary
we were
production.
like full band takes, and mostly separation so that you could isolate tracks and overdub stuff. But we just were like, this isn't capturing our live energy very well. I was like, I think it sounds good. I love the album, and so we were going for more full band take, singing at the same time. Let's just run them down a few times and make it happen on this one, and all be in the same room, still like separated enough that you can do a little, not totally screwing our mix guy over.
Yeah. Now doing it that way, it seems like you have to live, because it's a raw recording and it's just like, this is what happened on that take. Okay, cool. Let's maybe do another take. You do it. Okay, well, this part got fixed, but now that part's not as good as the take before. You always have to live with an element of, well, it's raw.
Yeah. Well, one, we found that we were playing him consistently enough that we could actually still do some slicing.
Okay.
Still
That's
play
great.
with- yeah. So we were like, oh, let's like, does that work? Does that work? And we'd like kind of, our engineer's really solid, and he was throw it together and be like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah, we can take that A part and that B part and that C part, and it's
Okay,
working.
so you could still kind of comp
We could comp
everybody. Okay.
Yeah, full band comps, just full.
Yeah.
And we did overdub some things, overdub some harmonies, and this and that. But yeah, and the thing that I'm realizing, I have a perfectionist mind.
Yeah.
And having to come to peace with going to the studio and just realizing like, this is just a snapshot of where a band is at that time.
Isn't that such a hard thing to like release to, and just
Oh my
that's
God.
so hard. When I was doing this a couple weeks ago, maybe even longer, I can't remember. But an engineer, while I was working on my record, he turns around, he's like, man, I think it was George Martin who produced the Beatles, and this guy's a big Beatles head. He's like, George Martin said, records aren't finished, they're just abandoned. Like, you just have to give up at some point and quit, and just quit overworking it and, like, obsessing about some little detail and, like, the sleepless nights because you think you have a better take in you. You know, he's like, you just got to walk away from it and just, it's done because you said it's done, and that's it. Otherwise, you'll never release it.
Yeah, totally.
I haven't looked up to see if that's actually a George Martin quote, but regardless, I like it. I don't care who said it.
Whoever said it. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, maybe he just made it up and put George Martin on it so I'd hurry up in the studio. I don't know. Who knows what happened there?
They're just abandoned. Like here, yeah. Totally. It's just like, actually, I think it might have been that podcast of yours with Nate where he said something like he's like, I've just got another project. He's like, I need to finish this project so that I can get to my next project. I'm like excited for the next thing. And so like, that's also part of just like, well, this has to be done because I need to go. I got to move
on from it. I just got to, I have to be done because there's something else, coming up. Yeah.
Coming up.
Yeah. How'd you feel that the energy was captured? Did you feel like it's a good representation?
I'm really excited about it. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Very cool. Is there any kind of, after you name it, of course, projected release?
June, I think.
Okay, that's not too far.
No, not super far. Yeah, it was also a lot of it trying to find the venue that will do an album release show. That's
right.
Kind of the.
Do you guys perform in Telluride a lot since it's so close? And are the other band guys live where you're at?
No, we're all. Three of us are pretty close to here. Alex is in Durango, which is a couple hours away. Anneke is in Rico, which is about a half hour away.
Okay.
But Jack lives in Jackson, Wyoming, which is like 10 hours away.
Damn.
Which is why we tour. It's like why we have to do these big tour chunks. Like little weekend rips don't really one-off shows don't really work for us.
Yeah, that explains it because on the calendar, it seems like you guys are out for maybe like 2.5 weeks. Then there's like a significant break for around the same time, and then you go back out for another
we're kind of
2
on
weeks
the,
or something. Like they're just these big drops of like gigs, no gigs, gigs, no gigs.
Yeah.
Yeah, and with like no days in between, they're boom, night after night. You guys are hitting it.
Pretty much. Yeah, like. We've done some, like, I think we did like an 8 or 9 night in a row once, and it was just like, oof. I don't like this. This is not.
At what night did you burn out?
I think all of us do a really good job of bringing the energy every night.
Okay.
But it just starts to feel like, oh man.
Yeah, you're just in a daze. You're like, what city am I in? Okay.
Where am I going? Yeah, what's happening? I just would like to sleep in and just hang out one of these days.
Right.
It's funny. I was doing river guide I've done a lot of whitewater river guiding before, like multi-day river trips. Okay. And I didn't realize what's that?
How many days? Excuse me. How many days would those be?
5 to.
Oh wow.
18, like do a Grand Canyon trip.
18?
For like 18 days.
Damn.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I didn't realize how similar in ways the being a musician, like touring musician, was going to be. I was like, oh, we like pack up all the stuff, get in a vehicle, move to another location, unpack the stuff, put on the show. And that's like what you do every day on a river trip is you wake up in the morning and you like know what you need to do. And you like pack up the kitchen, pack up all the stuff, put it in the boats, go downstream, land, set it all up, set up the same thing you did last night, cook a different meal, but it's like kind of the same. And you're just,
yeah. How do you personally address keeping the music fresh every night when even though you're going through the same batch of actions, get in the van, get in the bus, load the crap, great, next one, cool, get something to eat, sound check, couple hours downtime, do the hit, repeat. How are you personally keep the energy up in the music and keep inspired as a bass player?
I look out at the audience.
Okay.
Because it's there. It's not they didn't hear these songs last night.
Right. Yeah. That's it. You're right. Yeah.
That's it. It's just, and even just like, I love my bandmates. That is also huge. I feel so grateful
to
be in a band that's not like, it wasn't assembled. It was just like, this is organically, these are like people I love and want to play music with, and we get along.
They were in your life before the band existed.
Not Anneke, but she kind of came into the band and the band, but she's awesome. Like, just fell right into the vibe, and
cool.
Gosh, we just get along so well, and like that keeps it fresh, and we laugh a lot.
Okay, cool. I mean, that's one of the most, I think, important things in a band is the camaraderie of it all, which comes through in the music and will come through in a show and all those things. And ultimately, hopefully, keep the group together.
Yeah. I remember we had somebody.
You aren't just pissed off at somebody and you're all hired guns and you're like, whatever, this gig doesn't pay enough, fly me home.
Yeah, totally. We had one show. This was I think it was some bar up in Whitefish, Montana, but these couple women came up to us after the show and they were like, "You guys are having so much fun together. Like, it's like you don't even care we're out here." And they said it like in a complimentary way. Like, they're like, that carries out to us too. Like,
sure,
it's so much fun for us to watch you all enjoying being with each other.
Right, and it brings them into it.
Yeah,
that's great. That's great. Most of the tour dates are in kind of mountain country.
Yeah, we're in an interesting spot of like trying to figure out how to expand and like do it in a sustainable way.
Sure.
None of us, we're not all like 21 and like, let's sweet, let's just like get in the van and we'll eat garbage and sleep wherever.
We'll eat Lunchables and sleep in the back of a parked car somewhere.
Yeah, right. we don't really do hotels. We have friends everywhere we go and we're staying with
that's cool.
A lot. But and trying to figure out, like, we're trying to put together a California tour this spring, and kind of we're just like, it's not, I don't think it's worth it right now. I don't think that we have enough draw. We don't have enough recognition, enough followers.
Tie-in.
But
it seems, again,
to be able to book like.
Yeah, that almost seems like a double-edged sword, because it's how do you get the followers without doing the gigs?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, unless you really want to be super active and have social media targeted at certain people, and
which
you want release to promoters on the West Coast, or however you guys are doing that.
I don't know how to do it. You have it?
Yeah, I know.
We're shooting from the hip a lot in this. Yeah, it's a tricky thing. Like, and we're also, because of like pandemic and then some other things, like we had been going to just a little bit of stuff, like just barely touched Seattle and Portland and that, and now it's like they feel like new markets again. We're not we haven't been back there in a couple of years.
Okay.
So trying to figure out even how to like bump out a little bit from the loop that we have been doing.
I think the good thing about being rooted, the bluegrass, Americana, folk, mountain, whatever genre term, those people who are super into that will follow. You know what I mean? It's so much different than just like, here's another, Johnny Q singer-songwriter. Like, being a part of a very specific community, I think could help a lot.
Totally.
Maybe you've witnessed that with getting on tours with other guys, or the followers of this band will then become fans of your
totally.
guys'.
And I feel like we're just starting to crack into that realm too, of like opening for people and getting into some festival stuff, and like,
okay.
Yeah.
Are most of those festivals out your way in Colorado, Wyoming, Montana?
There's quite a few out this way. I mean, there's a solid chunk kind of in the middle of the country, the Tennessee and the like that. Yeah, that zone in there. There's definitely some stuff out there, but
would those people vibe you out because you're not bluegrass enough? Like, if you went into
not from the bands that I'm seeing that are playing those festivals.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we fit right in with the bands that are playing those festivals.
I think maybe going back, I mean, I could probably reference some groups that I used to listen to that were based out of Nashville in the 80s, but even more popularized, that had this bluegrass thing, but definitely had a pop element to it also, that introduces this crossover language within the music that it seems would be accepting to a bigger audience, and so you're not going to get all the snobs giving you a hard time.
If snobs want to be snobs, that's their business.
Snobs love being snobs. That's why they're snobs. They're snobby about being snobs. Like, they love that shit.
Where it feels like we are right now is like when people see us, they really like us.
Yeah,
and we just gotta figure out how to get in front of more people. That's like the game.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, it seems like everybody's game. Yeah,
that's the game. Yeah.
When it comes to writing for the albums, is that a very are you guys all have equal input on that, or is there someone who kind of spearheads it and brings something to the table and has a vision for a tune?
So everybody in the band writes, and I think we have a pretty organic way of arranging as the band.
Okay.
So usually we've never really had a co-write. That just hasn't. We've played around with it and it just hasn't worked out quite yet to like figure out like, this is how usually someone will like, here's this chunk of a song. Here's this song. If here's a bridge and a chorus, and like, okay, that's great. And like, what if we put this here and this here and like chop it up and add this little part here.
Okay.
Songs feel like such funny, like, especially people writing their own songs, like that's like 100% theirs. It's like their little kid. And,
right.
And like, it's like you have to catch them early before they get too like settled. Right. You play a song a certain way for a chunk of years, and then someone's like, "Yeah, man, I don't like that bridge. Like, what if we change these words? And what if we do this?" Like, that's harder to do than if it's like, "Hey, I wrote this song like 2 weeks ago."
Sure.
Let's
and just hearing it a different way. I mean, demo-itis. After you've heard one tune a certain way, you just kind of adopt that's correct.
Yeah.
Even if it's not correct, and there's still things that need to be addressed, it's just like it's so saturated to hear it this one way. Rehearing it's a total mind thing. Like it throws you way off. It's like you can't even hear it the same. It's not the tune. It doesn't have the same identity. There's something really weird with it. After you've listened for so long.
It also is a really unique skill set, which I work on, and I'm not saying I'm great at it. But it's like to try to take a tune that exists and then rethink it. Like that's a really unique skill set to be able to take that.
That's always a fun challenge, isn't it?
And to be like, okay, how can we like really not be rigid about this? And like, what, just because you wrote it on this instrument and singing it this way, like that doesn't mean that that's how it has to be. Like, what if we did this? What if we did this? What if we like totally blew up the instrumentation and played it? Yeah.
Yeah. And you're speaking about within the constructs of the band.
Yeah.
Or just in general, taking any tune and just trying to reimagine.
Within the band as well, like to just like to really try to not be rigid about like, well, I wrote it in this tuning and I like this. It's like, okay, well, it's like, let's like really like chop it down to a chord chart and maybe not even be that attached to the chords. Let's talk about a chord chart and lyrics.
Right.
We don't even have to be that attached to either of those pieces either.
Yeah. If everything's a variable, then then you have a lot of input on where you want to take it. I think based on where the tune tells you, like the tune has a voice and will tell you where it wants to go most times.
Yeah, and like to not fight it too if it's trying to take you a certain direction. And like
you can't you can't find it or like think like, no, I want to interject this thing because I think it's hip. It's like, it's not the tune. Yeah, but this thing's hip, but it's not the tune. But this is hip. And then there's just like war going on between you and the tune.
I just learned about this cool chord substitution. I really want to try it.
Yeah. And the tune's saying no. And you have to trust that. And I think respect the tune. Like, it wants to go there regardless of You know, maybe it's ego. I don't know what that thing would be. Probably ego.
It's probably ego if it's your song.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, or ego if it's your idea against somebody else's song. Yeah,
totally. To try to just like, let's play all the ideas. Let's try it out. Let's run it a couple times with that way, and like see what it thinks. And like, oh no, I didn't like that actually. I'm hearing this thing. What if we do it this way? And we'll play it a couple times. Like, no.
Yeah. Do you sing in the band?
I do. Like, well, the All Be Good song, the one that you talked about, that's me singing that song.
Okay.
That's my song.
Because, I mean, obviously, just from listening, you can hear two very different people singing lead.
There's three, actually.
Okay.
On that album.
I did hear three voices. I don't think I defined three. What's the other tune? As She Sees It. Is that one? Yeah. Who wrote that?
Alex wrote that one.
That one, just right out of the gate, felt like musical theater.
Totally. It's very silly.
I loved it. And that was like it was a major departure from all the other things sonically and like just feel-wise from the record. That one was really cool. And I was kind of happy that there was a deviation that strong within the record. Like, cool. I wasn't getting burnt out by listening, but I'm like, okay, cool. There's more information that they're bringing to me.
Yeah, cool, man. I'm glad you dig it. Alex wrote that one, but then like this one actually is that album. Other than Anneke didn't have anything on there. Well, on that one, there's 2 songs by Alex, 2 songs by me, or 2 songs by Jack, and 2 songs by me, and 6 songs by Alex. So Alex is definitely the most prolific of us.
What other song on Murmurations Volume 2 was yours besides All Be
Turn
Good?
It to Gold.
Okay.
Which I dig that too, but man, I really want to hear that tune as like horns. Like that's what I'm hearing. Like when I like.
It's got a walking line. Yeah, that's another one that comes from a different place. Mm-hmm. It breaks up like the front part of the record. You're playing a lot of 2-beat, you know, and then it starts to really take a turn around track 6, and it gets into like all these different feels really quick towards the end of the record. I like that one. I like that one a lot. And then the track just before that is the one. It's got kind of a backbeat to it, like a pop rock backbeat.
Yeah,
which is again really cool. Yeah.
And that's a Jack. That one Jack wrote that one too. So he has.
Okay.
He wrote that one. He wrote that first one. Tata.
What were some pivotal albums for you when learning this style after only two bass lessons? But knowing music, understanding harmony, understanding technique. Yeah, having ear, having done all the academia stuff, but now coming to it from this, street skill set. What were some records that were fascinating to you?
Wood Brothers.
Okay.
Like honestly, like really where I got my chops playing upright was like, okay, teach me some hand position stuff and like understand that. And
sure.
Or Steve Swan Bass Shop. I don't know if you know that place. That's where I bought my. No, I didn't buy that.
No.
Anyway, it's in
Colorado.
It's in San Francisco.
Okay.
But I ended up hanging out there for like 2 hours the day that I bought my bass. I didn't buy it from him, but I showed up on Craigslist. But I guess I would call that a bass lesson too. That guy is.
Okay. Steve Swan
Bass Shop. If you're ever up, it's really close to the airport up there. Cool.
The one in like, what is that, San Mateo or something on the south side or San Francisco airport? Because I always forget him. I always like play some kind of concert series.
I think San Francisco airport, but I'm not sure.
I don't really know if there's more than one. I just know the airport I fly into a lot.
Yeah, it's a very nondescript shop, but then you'll be like, oh, he's got like 40 basses in here.
Nice.
From entry level Chinese basses to $80,000 bass. And it was such a cool education to just walk around that shop and I'd be like, play this one, and he'd be like, I was like, why do I like this one? What's going on here? Talking about strings, talking about style, talking about plywood, just talking about like plywood versus hybrid versus everything. It was just like such a primer on bass.
Yeah. What'd you end up with? What is your bass?
It's just an Eastman.
Okay.
ES9.
Okay, I'm not familiar with I've played a few and I've always liked them.
Yeah,
but I don't.
Like it's a new K. They're not quite as nice as old Ks, but they like bought the K machinery and or
Oh, did they?
Yeah, I think that's what the
Oh,
Eastman basses are. Am I saying that right? Is it an Eastman or is it an Eastwood?
East Min
Englehart.
is.
Sorry, it's an Englehart. That's not right.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
It's an
that
Englehart. Yeah, yeah,
makes a ton of sense. Right.
yeah. It's an Englehart. So it plays. Yeah, it's like a newer K. It's
Okay.
it's a workhorse. It's plywood bass.
Yeah.
Don't worry about
Great.
it.
Yeah. Is it the same one you take on the road and in the studio, or do you have one just that you kind of keep at the house and?
I have just that's the one. It's the one I
Yeah,
have.
that's the hope and the dream right there. Like if something happens to it, no gig. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, well, the nice thing now is, yeah, totally. But that's, I mean, who travels with two basses? That'd be ridiculous.
No, I thought maybe this was just like a road bass you only took out for the road.
No, that's the one. It's nice.
Yeah.
Alex has an Englehart as well.
Okay.
And so because he's playing upright on some tunes next. I also play guitar and mandolin, so we swap around.
Oh, you guys rotate within the group.
We do. It's pretty.
Okay.
We have. I think there's 4 of us on stage, and then there'll be. I think the last show we played was 4 of us on stage and 12 instruments.
That's a lot. So he
dumb.
doesn't play your bass?
He does on stage, but he has one and so it's like it's nice
Oh,
at
okay,
least within the band family. If something were to happen to mine, like
Sure, there's
There is
one
another
on
bass.
standby.
there's one on
Right.
standby. We got to back up.
Yeah. What do you prefer playing, like in the group? Do you prefer playing bass? And it's okay to say no, even though it's a bass podcast.
No, man, I like it all. It's really depends on what I'm trying to do.
Right.
I love the role of the bass, and I love
Sure.
the role of the mandolin. I like if I'm singing songs, I kind of like leading them on guitar a little bit more.
Okay.
But I'll sing from the bass too. It doesn't. Yeah, I don't know, man. I have musical ADD. That's why.
Yeah. Having like kind of been, a bass player at heart for so many years, but not having it be realized until you got your bass. How does now playing the bass inform your songwriting? Have you noticed a shift in songwriting since you're actively have a bass in your hands?
My relationship with songwriting is an interesting one. I write songs, but I don't have like a discipline around that in terms of like being a songwriter.
Mm-hmm.
Like they happen to just come out and I'm like, oh, that's cool. All right, there's a song.
Right.
But as far as like sitting down and writing and having the like, I've been trying to figure out this analogy because I don't mind hard work. Like I don't mind I'll ride my bike up that hill so that I can ride down it. I'll walk up the hill on my skis so I can ski down. But like,
Sure.
what is that for songwriting?
Putting in the work, just like
What is putting
kind
in
of grinding it out? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how to grind it out songwriting. I've not developed that skill set.
Oh, really? Where you just
Like-
habitually like try to write a verse a day? You haven't made it into kind
It's
of
like the songs that I've written
ritualistic.
come out in like an hour, and I like them a lot.
Amazing. Yeah.
But then I'm like, oh, here's this, like, I've got this verse and a chorus. I think it's pretty sweet. And my bandmates are like, it is. Finish it. I'm like,
It will be once it's done.
it will
When
be
you
when
come
it's
back
done.
to us when it's
That'd
done.
be great if you'd wrote just another. It just needs like another verse.
Yeah.
But I have this. It's like that perfectionist, the double-edged sword of perfectionism, man. Is like
That's true. Yeah.
It's-
How do you deal with that? Do you dive right into it and like obsess until it's perfect and then you can walk away, or has
No,
it been
it's-
this kind of ongoing process of learning how to let go if it's not an idea of perfect?
It's more that where it gets stuck is that I'll not come up with the perfect next line and then I'll put it down.
And it just stays there in a
It's there.
yeah.
So it hangs out in limbo for.
How many tunes do you think you have that are just sitting there in the bullpen?
Like,
that aren't
good hooks and like there's probably at least like 10 that are like.
man, that's a record. That's a record.
I know. I like have this.
Do any of them work together? Like using that hook on this thing?
I'll play around with that. I don't nothing. Nothing off the top of my head, but maybe.
Yeah. I think on tunes that I've had to walk away from or I never thought worked, a lot of times I'm pumping out a lot of material like that. So they all have a lot of commonalities to them, and I hit a wall in them also. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if it's like the thing with me where it's just writer's block kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Or if that somewhere in there they should all just work together, and I'm trying to make them different.
Yeah, there might be that.
But I also have a hard time revisiting them. Like, it exists. I don't know if I want to go back to it. I'll just do something else. Create something else similar, or whatever I was trying to do with that, I'll just use that part of it.
Yeah.
And just walk away from it. If I can write that, then I can write it again somewhere else. That's what
I need to just lock myself in go do some intentional writer's retreat sort of thing and get away from all the stuff I can so easily distract me. It's I don't know what to do with this song. Well, I probably should look at YouTube. I don't know. Maybe.
But I mean, you're an outdoorsy guy. Just going out, just going for a hike, going for a walk, doing a 45-day rafting retreat. Does that clear your head when you come back to music?
It doesn't. Not as far as that goes.
Okay.
Not as far. I feel like I just need. Yeah, I have this maybe it's a story I'm telling myself, but I feel like I have this hump I need to get over, and then I'll be I feel like I'm really close to being very prolific, but I just need to get over my shit.
I'll be prolific when.
I'll be prolific when. Yeah, I'll be happy when.
But now this is fascinating because I think everybody has that. What is it for you? What's the when? What's the hump? What is if there was a magic bullet that would knock that out, and then the when could happen.
So you sound
what has to be knocked out? What's the hurdle?
You sound like my therapist. This is good.
I mean, I don't really want to get into the family, but if you got time, we can go there too. Yeah. I'll use that for another podcast.
What is the when? I think it's the being willing to stop distracting myself, but also not to let go of the perfection. I think I just need to finish. I think I just need to practice finishing songs. I think
that's actually. I've had this kind of conversation with different people in different genres and different aspects of the music business. Well, all bass players on the podcast, and the perfection thing. That's serious, and it's a debilitating.
Yeah.
Characteristic. I have it. I definitely have it, and it's.
Well, it's why you're probably good. That's the double-edged sword, right? It's if you weren't, it's there's people who
in my mind. There's nothing I'll never be good enough in my mind, and I had to learn to live with. Well, then I'll just always suck according to me. Okay. According to me, I'll always suck. That's fine then. Whatever. I'll never hear myself play as someone else hears me play because I know the whole history of this. I know when I worked out that idea. I know how I blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But so I'll never hear it that way. I always hear what's not there because I take what is there for granted because I spend so much time working on it. But the perfectionist thing is definitely debilitating, and it's always fascinating. I'm trying to answer the same question because I have it. No, it'll be cool when, or the career will get where I want it when. Well, what's that? I don't know. And it wasn't until really recently that I just kind of decided that thing doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, so I'm just going to do it regardless because that when thing that is either just a mental block that I can't get over or I'm putting way too much stock into it. So let's say, right, it always costs money to finance projects and artistic stuff. So for the sake of this, let's say it's money. Well, cool, I'll do that when I have the money to get the dudes in the studio and do a release and get management and get PR and all that stuff. Instead of just doing it. Whatever, it'll work out how it's going to work out.
Yeah.
Regardless. Letting go to that is frightening. But I can do it when I play. But I can't do it on this side of the bass. If I don't have the bass in my hand, I can't do it. As soon as I'm playing, yeah, fine, wherever it goes, I'm with you, let's go.
Yeah, that's an interesting one.
But in the kind of the strategy organization of the career aspect of it, I really suffer from the perfectionist thing.
That is such an interesting thing. That's a really interesting perspective. I like that, because it's like the difference between playing in the studio versus playing live. When like you play live and it's just like, oh, like wrong note, you just flow right by it. Don't worry about it. It's like the groove is still there, everything's still there. But then when you're playing in the studio, it's like can be this like perfectionist of just like, oh, gotta play it all right, gotta play every right note. And
then what happens is you choke, like to use that analogy, like you get red light syndrome, and then you're like, and then you can't even do 80% of what you could do.
Totally.
If you were relaxed.
But like, what is that? What is the like? I think that throws me off. To come circle back to the social media thing too. It's like definitely like want that. Like I want to make a reel. I want to make it like good. It's got to be fucking. It's got to be perfect. Right.
I need a 5-camera shoot. I need like well backlit. Like
right. Totally.
I obsess about like, all that stuff.
But the cool thing about it's like even better. Like it's like with social media is like if nobody sees it, if it's bad, nobody sees it.
Yeah. Right.
It's like even better than almost anything else. Like it's like seems like almost the best place to just throw darts. But like
throw darts.
Like, what is that? What is that for? Like as far as like the music business part of things? Like how can I embody the like the energy of live performance of just man, the groove still goes. The groove is happening. I'm just joining it.
Yeah.
And I'm just with the groove while it's happening as with my businessy part of the game is and also like if like I played a wrong note. All right, cool.
Yeah, right. Yeah, no, that's not as debilitating as the business side of maybe. As we're talking, I'm kind of thinking through it that maybe I'm just not as confident in the business administrative stuff. Like I'm confident in what I can do.
Bass a lot more than you've practiced business.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know anything about any of this. I'm just doing it. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. At least with the bass, like I've studied how to manipulate all that.
Yeah.
If I find myself in a hole, I know how to get out. But that's been years of trial and error and learning the hard way too. So there's that. I definitely paid my dues.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what it is. Maybe I don't want to pay any more dues. And I think this is turning into my therapy session. Do I have to like schedule another podcast with you on the way out so that I can, dig a little deeper into this?
Just get some journal prompts for the next time.
I want you to come up with a gratitude list. Man, so there's nothing on the we're done with the therapy. There's nothing. What's the closest to Southern California? I want to come check you guys out.
The closest to Southern California. I mean, like we're not even getting into California yet.
So Colorado is the closest.
Colorado, Salt Lake City.
This has been great, man. Any new news or anything? Hit me up. I'd love to have you back on.
Yeah, I want to answer your question earlier too.
I have the ADD. I forgot what I asked.
Albums, just albums, and like
all the way back.
Who'd you play? And it's just like, man, play along with the Wood Brothers, like and listen to like a lot of classic bluegrass, but like really for like upright bass chops, is Wood Brothers and Lake Street Dive were like my.
Wood Brothers and Street Dive. What album? The Wood Brothers. A whole collection?
Everything.
Yeah?
All of it.
Okay. I've never checked them out. I'm going to go check them out.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, dude.
I'm not a bluegrass guy, though.
But he's not bluegrass. They're not bluegrass. They're like more bluesy. You're upright. Okay. You play both, right?
Yeah, I play both. But like, I do jazz.
Yeah.
Like one of those.
He's definitely got jazz backgrounds. He played with Medeski, Martin, and Wood, if you're...
Oh, sick. So is that kind of like jam bandy?
It's more like...
Vibe?
Bluesy.
Okay.
But not like, I don't know. I'm so bad with genres. I don't know what you call it.
Yeah.
But
all right, that's fine.
Check out the Wood Brothers and Lake Street Dive. Like both those are like, they're where I cut my chops.
All right. That was Eric Shed, and the band is called Birds of Play. Check them out. Go to thebasshed.com/podcast. There will be links there to his album. Wherever you are listening to this podcast, there will be a link in the description below to the band. So check them out. Birds of Play. Very cool record. Again, the record I heard was Murmurations Volume 2. Great stuff. If you are enjoying the Bass Shed podcast, please hit subscribe wherever you are listening to it. And that's all I got for this one, folks. That about wraps her up. Thanks for listening, and I will catch you on the next one in a minute.